vibey music behind me.
Oh yes, get some vibey music.
I'm gonna have to get like something going on the Alexa that I can bring up here.
Do you want me to do it on here?
Maybe.
Yeah, let me see if I can
it's
find
low enough so that it's not annoying.
Yes.
Good morning. Welcome to Crime, Crafting, and Coffee.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's the first ever episode. Does this have to sit right here?
No.
It's just a little like.
Can we put it over here?
Yeah. Okay. So today, Mondays are typically my day. I hang out with my community, chat, catch up on what's new. But today we're doing something different in honor of October and all the things. But Tiff is actually going to be blinging right now. She's blinging the Cricut Explorer Air 3. And she has never heard this story. So she was like, can I come and listen while I bling? And I was like, of course you can. So this thing opens so
I know, it's going
slow.
I just wanted to show you guys the progress on it because it's coming out beautiful.
Way to be a part of the theme.
Right.
It's all
right. I know, it needs some like effects.
The maker too sounds like, this sounds like,
bam.
Can you see it?
It's so pretty. It looks like just like almost like glitters all over this.
It's so pretty. I'm gonna find the YouTube channel. I'm gonna try not to get super distracted with comments today because I do want to tell this story as I know it, because I've been consumed with this story, like consumed as I am with true crime all the time right now.
It's like symphony, scary, Beetlejuice.
Okay, can they even hear it?
Can you guys hear the music? Let's see.
It sounds like
it's the Beetlejuice.
Look up like not Beetlejuice. Look up like
I did scary, spooky symphonies.
Okay.
Is this just a bad song?
Do like tranquil noises. Spooky. I like the tranquil sounds in the background of when I listen to true crime. Okay, here's our live now. I sound like I'm about to go on an adventure. Can you guys even hear it? Okay, here's your bling tool.
Thank you. Okay, spa music coming up.
Spa music?
That's tranquil. That's what tranquil's under.
Oh.
We'll see if it works.
All right. So just a disclaimer. I know nothing. And everything that I could say today could be true and could be completely false. This case is unraveling daily, and it's extremely frustrating at the point that it's at right now. I've followed it since before they even found Gabby. I have been, I was, immersed with this story when they were still looking for her. I watched the entire body cam footage of both officers, so over 3 hours of just body cam footage. And I really, really connected with her story because she was doing a lot of things at 22 that I could see myself doing. And I just really felt for her and wanted her to be found. But obviously, in the story, you'll find out what actually happened. A lot of you guys have probably followed the story, so you know the story. So feel free in the chat to add things, but I am not going to be talking about conspiracies or unproven things today. I'm just going to be reporting on, what is actually proof.
I love it. I'm going to be
reporting on what's actually true and that we know for a fact. So that means I'm not actually going to be covering the timeline the way that they say it is, because the timeline keeps changing, because there's so many unknown factors in the case already that it's really, really frustrating. And most people who are following it are just extremely frustrated right now.
And if you're not following it, you're here with me because I have no idea what's going on. I can't with crime stuff, but I'm going to be listening and yes.
All right. So one of the main reasons why I really wanted to jump into doing true crime was the more that I've been listening to it, the more I'm realizing influencers have been a huge part in busting cases, and they've actually reopened a lot of cases and solved them because more and more influencers and media are talking about these things outside of law enforcement and the FBI, because law enforcement and the FBI will take stories or crimes and they will book them and put them away and just stop working on them because they get overwhelmed and frustrated and they can't figure it out and time has gone by, so scents are gone and all the things are gone. So the relentlessness of influencers and people have been actually helping find people and solve cases.
That's what I love about like the world of social media and influencing is you truly have a voice, and if we all just keep speaking up louder and louder too, it's like, no, you can't hush this away.
Nope. And even in this story, there's a ton of influencers and different people that are trying to be helpful in this that I think it's going to be a little bit more successful because these people are involved. Okay, so Gabby Petito was a 22-year-old girl at the time that she died. She was an adventurous, free spirit that just loved to travel and wanted to document that as a vlogger. She started documenting her travels on her first trip that her and her boyfriend did, and they were starting to go on their second traveling trip. And on this traveling trip was the time that she actually was going to pursue being a real vlogger. Like, document everything, upload everything, edit everything, and she was just super excited for it. And her boyfriend at the time wasn't. So that can be pretty frustrating, especially when you're going into a career field that nobody understands. Nobody wants to support you in that because they don't understand it.
Right.
And she did. And I think if she were alive, she would, regardless of all this media attention, she would be a successful vlogger, travel vlogger. I would follow her.
Right. This is the one that was in the little van, right? Touring around and doing,
Yes. So, oh, you really don't know? It's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, everybody knows the story already. So.
Oh, no, we don't.
All right, cool. So, she's just this sweet, bubbly girl. She has 4 parents. So, she has a mom and a stepdad and a dad and a stepmom. Her step-parents have been in her life since she was a baby, and they do a really great job of co-parenting her. And her 5 siblings. I think she's the oldest of 6. I might be wrong. She might be the oldest of 7 and have 6 siblings.
Wow.
But
it literally sounds like my family. Like, I have 7 siblings and I have 2 sets of parents. So already I have the chills.
Yeah, and she's just, she's the sweetest. Like, you could just tell she just loved life. She just wanted to be out and see the world, and she was going to all these places. So she got a van, and I cannot remember if her and her boyfriend got the van. I keep saying boyfriend. I'm going to call him Brian from now on. It's Brian Laundrie. He's the most frustrating part of this entire story. But Gabby and Brian decided to go on this trip in their white little van. And it's little, and you're going to be in close quarters, and there are going to be times when it would be thundering and storming and you can't get out of the van, and things are going to get heated and you're going to get frustrated. So they start on this journey. Her parents are completely okay with it because Brian has never given them any reason not to trust him. They love him. They know that he's gonna be her husband one day. Like, they were on and off again, engaged, which every time you see a relationship that's on and off again, I feel like there's a lot behind the scenes that isn't known. If you know, because there's a lot of unknowns here, and nobody thought that Brian could be scary.
Which is crazy because even though I don't follow the case, I did start following her just to, like, because everyone was following her, and I was like, wait, what's going on? And from their Instagram, everything looked so serene, perfect, the cutest couple traveling like you want to be the couple goals.
Yeah. Ugh, it's so sickening, and the more I look into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to break the stigma. Yes. There needs to be a reality that we present that says it's okay not to be okay, and if you're in an abusive relationship, we need to have avenues to let people know that it's okay to reach out to us. And if you see signs of people in an abusive relationship, reach out, investigate. Like, don't just brush it off as, oh my gosh, she's just getting crazier and he's just the nicest guy ever, because that was the case in this. So everybody loved Brian. Everybody thought he was super nice to her, super sweet to her. There were no family issues outside of their relationship. So if there was abuse, he was very good at hiding it from his family, from her family, or his family actually just all does that, and they are okay with it, and they are good at hiding it from other people, which will be more present or more prevalent in the end part of the story. So they go on this, they start this adventure, and this is when the infamous body cam footage starts to come out. So as they're in Moab, Utah.
I love Moab.
I want to go so bad
That's
after
awesome.
seeing all the people who were there helping find her. They were in Moab, Utah, hiking and doing all the things that travelers do, taking pictures, and she was posting on social media. She would always post on social media because that was her
Job.
goal, yes, to have that be her full-time job. She would always tag her photos wherever she was because she wanted to be seen as a real, traveler, and these are the places she'd been. So she was always location tagging. She posted photo after photo after photo daily, and then she also was documenting this all together and vlogging it, but she had yet to put up her first vlog on YouTube. So there's a huge altercation with Brian and Gabby, and a few people witness it, and a couple people call 911. So the first person who called 911 reported a man hitting his girlfriend. And then the second person who reported that she was trying to get into the van and he was pushing her away. So as the story unraveled, this is how I paint the picture with just the amount of witnesses and the stories that they told. Basically, they were just extremely frustrated with each other. They were in a heated argument. He, being the controlling human being that he is, got her to get out of the van and told her that you cannot get back in until you have calmed down, and rolled up the window. She tried to run around his side and climb over her, but he was pushing her out of the van and locked the door and told her, you cannot get back in until you've calmed down. To anybody hearing that, it sounds like, okay, he was the peacemaker in this. But what we don't see is the amount of manipulation up to that point to get her to be so extremely frustrated to the point where she's screaming and yelling and wanting to get back in her van, and he's not allowing her to get into the van. So cops are called. The Moab police come and sit with them for probably about an hour and a half and negotiate and talk to them. Basically what happened during that, if you have not watched the entire body cam footage, is Brian Laundrie smooshed them like crazy, and Gabby cried the entire time. So they put her into a cop car and let her sit there to calm down. She did not calm down for the entire hour and a half. Brian, however, continued to laugh and smile and giggle with the cops for the entire hour and a half, making comments like her little vlog channel that she's working on. She's just crazy. If you watch it, it literally fuels you and triggers you if you understand, like,
that's not
manipulation.
fair if you're already like an emotional person, like, to be called crazy because you're literally just having normal emotions. You're frustrated, you're locked out,
Yes.
like, I'm upset, I'm crying, you know what I mean? It's just, ugh.
Yes, and so she many times said she has OCD and she's just a hard person to deal with, and she was extremely sorry for the way that she was acting and completely deflected any blame on him. And he had scratches on his face and she had a red mark on her face because the witnesses said that they witnessed him grab her face and push her away. So they all had the marks on their body. Both of them had marks on their body to go along with the story. And actually the cops ended up pulling them over because he was driving and he was speeding and he hit a curb, and then that's when they lit him up and pulled them over. And she took full blame for that, saying she was mad and said, look what you did, and pulled his arm, and they swerved and hit the curb. So is all that true? Maybe, but knowing the story now, looking back, you have to think, wow, she was really just that controlled and manipulated to think she was the problem the entire time. And probably every argument they had, she was, and this is my conspiracy, I don't know this for sure, but she probably just got used to going, you're crazy, he's perfect, you're the problem, he's not the problem, he's fixing everything, you're screwing everything up. So she definitely made that clear to the cops.
Well, and if you're in an abusive relationship too, you would get scared, I would feel like, to be like, yeah, it is his fault, you know, and like, so.
Yeah, and it could have been like extreme abuse where she was terrified to tell, Or it could have been long years of manipulation of her not even realizing that she was being manipulated to think those things. Her brain just automatically thinks she's the problem.
Yeah.
And she just seemed like that type of girl. She seemed like a peacemaker. She seemed like somebody who just wanted to have so much fun. And I relate to her on this because when you get emotionally exhausted and you feel like you've screwed things up, you are literally just like, I suck. You know, I just want to have fun. Everybody's having fun. We should be having fun. Yeah, so abusers often convince their victims that it's all the victim's fault. Yeah. It says PDG 123. Yes. So they get in this altercation. The cops go back and forth because in the, all of the evidence is pointing to the fact that she is the abuser. And so under Utah law, they have to do something. They have to do something to arrest one of them. He offers, like the gentleman he is, to go to jail for her and let her take the van, but he also doesn't want her to be in the van alone, so he's like, can you get her a safe house while I go to jail? And they're like, well, she is the aggressor in the situation, so we need to make sure that she's the one going to jail. So they end up, after the whole altercation, you guys can watch the body cam footage if you really want to, they end up just telling them, look, we're going to let you guys go, but we need you guys to separate for the whole day. You are not allowed to see each other. She can take the van. You need to go find a hotel. And I can't remember if they found him like a free one or if they were going to pay for it or something, which is ridiculous, but they wanted to just have them be separated. Here's where the story gets crazy. So the day that they're separated, and this is the only time I'm going to use the timeline because I have it confirmed by the newlyweds family, the date that this happened. So the date that they're separated, they, we don't know if they actually stayed separated. You know how lovers do, right? They're never going to actually stay separated if you want them to. So were they separated? Were they not? If they were, this is what happened. There was a newlywed female couple that were at a bar, and this is the newlywed murder. They were staying about 4 minutes away from Brian Laundrie's campsite, and they were murdered that night.
Really?
Yes. They were murdered with a gun. They were shot and killed. And it's going to get crazier, guys, if you haven't been following lately over the weekend, because it's getting crazier, because obviously the first thing everybody is doing is going, Brian did it. He had to have done it if he already, we'll get in it. Gabby hasn't shown up dead yet, but we all know that happens. So he is not necessarily a suspect in this, and the FBI and the cops, I have them very confused in my brain, the actual, police department and the FBI, because I know they're both working on these cases, but I can't remember which one has which information. They instantly wrote it off as not related. So everyone was like, okay, they're not related.
Sounds like a coinky dink to me.
Yeah, and at this time when we found this out, we had no idea that Gabby was actually dead. We still thought she was missing when the newlywed couple came up dead. So we were like, well, Gabby could still be missing. Mind you, Brian goes back to Florida and flies home to help his parents or his father clean out a storage locker for some reason. And then somehow flies back to Utah to meet back up with Gabby. And then proceeds to go on the rest of their trip. Gabby stops communication with everybody, doesn't post anything on social media, and the only things that are posted are one picture of Brian by himself, and he does not it's supposedly her posting it, but it is not tagging a location at all. And the caption is very short. It's usually her whole caption that she does, no caption. And then the last text that is ever heard from her is no reception in Utah or in Yosemite. So she texts her mom. Her biological mom is used to hearing from her every single day. And she doesn't hear from her. And then she gets that text, no text in Yosemite. She was not in Yosemite. There was nobody in Yosemite. So somebody was trying to send off, somebody onto a different trail.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her mom says she instantly knew that was not her daughter, that she just had her mother's intuition, that that's not my daughter. And then they started to think that she's missing. Like, we need to figure this out. Her family was under the impression that Brian and Gabby were both missing.
Oh,
so
okay.
They were worried about both of them.
Right.
Then they find out that Brian actually went back to Florida with the van. And they find out that the van is actually in Florida. This is after a couple weeks of not knowing where Gabby is.
Wow.
So he is home, living his life with his van back in Florida, and Gabby is at this time missing. We don't know where Gabby is. So,
and he's just living his life.
As far as we know, he's living his life, but the one thing we do know is his whole family went on a day camping trip together. No questions asked where his future bride is. So him, his sister, his mom, his dad, and his niece, and I think his nieces, I think his sister just has daughters, all went on a camping trip together. It was, I believe it's 3 hours away, or an hour and a half, so a 3-hour boat trip. It's a little bit away from their house in Florida, so they had to drive all the way there. His sister lived nearby the campsite, so she just met up with them, and they came home and didn't tell anybody. Like, they were just like, we're just living our life. No thoughts to ask, like, where Gabby is. The parents probably know where Gabby was.
Well, and aren't they, like, living in their van? So, like, where is she staying if she's not staying in her home, like, in her van home, right?
Right.
Okay.
But the parents think Brian and Gabby are still in the van traveling, not realizing Brian is back. So then the parents are looking for Gabby. They're like, our daughter is gone, so they do the missing persons report, and they do all things, and so it's a hunt for a living person at the time, and we are searching for Gabby. And then we find out Brian's home, and that throws everything for a loop. And Gabby's mom said as soon as she found out that the van was in Florida, she also, mother intuition, knew that her daughter was dead.
Yeah.
And then it was just searching for Gabby. Her dad was relentless in searching, thinking that they would find her alive. They were very confident in her skills as a 22-year-old, like, traveler. They just said she is super independent. She knows how to do things. We don't worry about her because she knows how to do so much. A big red flag to me in this whole story that scares me is how comfortable her family was with her going on these traveling trips with him and never seeing red flags of anything wrong in their relationship. So if anything we can learn from this, like, how do we protect our daughters or nieces or whoever, like, how do we educate them on, they might seem like great people, but we need to know what gaslighting is. We need to know what, like, control is. Like, you can live your, like, she could have gone on this trip by herself probably and would have returned alive, you know? So it's frustrating. I'm gonna read some comments.
Well, it's the whole thing too, where it's like, I feel like, you know, women can do a lot on their own, but people feel like, I'm scared, I don't want you to travel, you need to go with a partner, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's hard.
Yeah, and it's sad because she could have probably done it a little bit more safer.
Or gone with, like, a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
So.
Or met up with people on the way. Like, she was even planning to meet up with some friends, and that was actually how they really knew she was missing. Yeah. She was planning to meet up at her next destination with some friends, and she did not show, and her friends were like, she would never do this.
Yeah.
She would never show up, and that's how they thought. She didn't have cell service, but when she didn't show up, that's when they were like, she's not a no-shower.
Yeah.
She always comes through. Like, she was a go-getter, obviously, by 22 to already do cross-country trips with, you know, just her and her basic needs. Like, she was just one of those people. And so, yeah, but her parents were super confident in her skills. They knew that she was, you know, she could do it.
Well, and the fact that she was responsible enough to, like, check in with her family and all that, I think is so huge. Because even if you're going to go do that, like, you're like, okay, I'm going to expect a text from my daughter or a call from my daughter. And then when she doesn't, you're like, okay, things are getting fishy.
Right. So she ends up missing. We're looking for her. And then another vlogging travel channel, I'm not sure if their actual channel name, sorry, I should know these things, but they find footage on their cameras of her van because they specifically remember driving through Moab and seeing her van with Florida plates and going, wow, that is so cool. Another Florida van is doing the same thing we're doing. I think they were in like an RV or something bigger because they were like, one day we want to do that. And so they remembered that they were filming, and so they actually tipped off the FBI and the police to be able to find Gabby because they sent in their tip saying, we saw her van.
Ooh,
It was, I know, is right here. So they actually have the footage driving past the van, and you can literally see probably where the van was the time that she was dead. So she was found about 5 minutes hiking distance away from that van, and if it wasn't for them coming forward with their tip and vlogging their life, we wouldn't have that footage, and we could still be looking for her, and evidence could be gone.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I have the chills everywhere. Goosebumps.
I know. So we do not know how she died. We do know it was dubbed a homicide right away, which tells me when it's dubbed a homicide that quickly, something was obvious, whether it was like choking around the neck visually on the outside, because for sometimes you have to wait for like the actual autopsy report to come out for you to visually see inside the body to see that it was strangulation. But it also tells me that she was freshly not like there for a long time because there was enough physical evidence to show, unless it was a gunshot wound, which shows for a long time.
And they haven't said anything.
They can't because it's an open case, so the FBI will not release date she was dead because they need all this for when they find Brian to be able to cross-examine him, basically.
Right.
And
so no details.
No details on how she died, when she died, and yeah, how and when. So they won't release the autopsy report. They won't tell us the date that she actually died.
Wow.
Which would probably tell a lot, which tells me the FBI knows a lot more than we do.
Oh, absolutely.
So I just can't wait for him to be found, because as soon as he's found and they start the investigation, we can all have a little bit of peace of mind that we know these answers that we're all searching for. But it's crazy that we get hung up on all these things, because in reality it's like Gabby is gone and we can't do anything about it, but we want justice. I personally just don't want him killing anybody else if he is on this mass serial killer.
I mean, what are the speculations of him? Like, is he alive? Is he dead? Is he on the run? Like, what's that?
Right. So
sorry,
no.
like jumping out of my
I know. Well, it gets so frustrating because who knows where he actually is right now. So, is this chair gonna pop? No. Okay. So she's found dead. We know that she's dead. So instantly we're like, okay, Brian is home. Brian didn't say anything about her. He looks like the most guilty human on earth. He still does to this day. So he literally, yes, she had, okay, I'm going to read that one. So he is home and he's doing all these things. And so now they're like, okay, all of a sudden, Brian Laundrie just goes missing. No one can find him. So at first we're like, he's home. We can find him. We can go talk to him. No, he literally goes missing. He could have been missing for a couple days before that. He could have hung out at home for a little bit and left. There's a lot of speculation on if his parents hid him in the home, if his parents helped him escape or bought some time while he was escaping. Nobody really knows like how far away he got by the time we started realizing he's a huge suspect in this case. So 2 people, John Walsh, right? Not Welsh. John Walsh jumped on the case, and Dog the Bounty Hunter jumped on the case.
John Walsh is from
the America's Most Wanted. Yes. So he is like using his skills because he's like, dude, I've done so much criminal work outside of law enforcement that I need to jump in on this.
I'm pretty sure he lost his daughter too.
His son.
Oh, his son.
I think his son, yeah.
Okay.
And so that's why he started doing what he's doing. Yeah. And then Dog is all over this because he's caught many people too, helping out in the ways that he knows how to help. And the nice thing about non-law enforcement is this is not their job, so they're not working on other cases. They're not only there 9 to 5. They're not clocking in and out. They can work on it as long as they want, as much as they want, and they have other people who are helping them that they're not cut off by, they don't need permits to go and talk to people. Dog literally showed up at Brian Laundrie's parents' house and was like, I'm going to just go see if they'll talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
did they?
No.
Of course not.
So they lawyered up as soon as all this. I think they got a lawyer as soon as Gabby was pronounced dead, maybe even before that. So they're lawyered up, and their lawyer is advising them not to talk to anybody. The FBI is saying not to talk about it too, so that kind of tells me the FBI knows some stuff. The only thing I can think of if, like, they are completely innocent is literally that they are 100% innocent, and there is such a good alibi that they can just come out with that at the end and be like, this is why we were silent, we're sorry, we needed to do this for Gabby, like, but if you are, like, I don't know, if you are that innocent, I feel like you should be talking, you know, like,
right.
But I don't know, maybe the FBI is telling them, like, it'll get in the way of the case, and it could be because there's a whole new thing coming out now, so I don't know. Me being the, like, investigative mind that I am, I'm trying to think of, okay, if they were innocent, what could that look like if they're not, which they look completely not innocent for the fact that he's on the run and they're not talking, and they weren't talking even when she was just missing. They just have not been a part of it. So they're extremely frustrating to the whole situation. They're not helping, not talking, and there's tons of conspiracies, like they're hiding him in a bunker in the backyard and a bunch of stuff that I don't want to speculate because it hasn't been proven.
Right.
So there are tons of tips saying that they've seen him on the Appalachian Trails in Florida. Oh no, not Florida. It's somewhere it's like North Carolina, and I can't remember if it's the bottom or the top. It's all those like Everglades areas that
where he could hide easily.
He could hide, but the water rises and comes back down, so it's not like easy terrain to live in or travel in. So it's, I don't know. And Dog actually came out with the fact that he was reading a book on serial killers at the moment, and he was all into this like traveling serial killer book series. I haven't looked into that at all, so I don't know how true that is. But yeah, so he is on the run. There's a lot of speculation of a bunch of different things. We don't know much, but we're just looking for him, and a lot of people are looking for him right now. Mind you, just over the weekend, there was also another death in the Moab hiking trails at the same time, which was instantly dubbed as a suicide. It was just a man with 2 young kids and a family, but they dubbed it as a suicide. And I don't know how or why they dubbed it as a suicide, but it just seems crazy that there are 4 murders in Moab, Utah in the same couple days of each other that are somehow just automatic. That's why I'm thinking they know a lot, and they're just trying to like get the media off of them and all of us off of them by just saying like, yeah, this is a suicide. Let's just dub it a suicide to get people like not worried about it. But I'm like, do people commonly go to Moab to
I
commit
was just
suicide?
gonna say that's what I was thinking. I'm like, what is like the statistics on how many people go to Moab, commit suicide, or is all of a sudden there's like a 2,000% increase within this like 1 week or whatever?
Well, yeah, and that's what the lady who found the if you guys want to watch the story on the Newlywed, or you guys want me to cover that, I'll try to cover that too another time. But the lady who found them was just saying like, we just live in Moab, like we're just this peaceful little community and nothing ever happens here.
No, my family goes there all the time to like camp, to go on like the lake, to ride mountain bikes and quads, and it's like it should be like a fun place to like adventure.
Yeah. And the man who committed suicide was an avid hiker, so it was like, okay, did he just want to go on his last hike and like do it with a doozy or what? But to me, people who get out into the environment and hike and get exercise and vitamin D, I mean,
they're
I'm
probably
not
happy
saying,
people.
Yeah, I'm not saying they can't be depressed and want to commit suicide, but I'm saying like it doesn't line up all the way. But he probably could have a lot going on, and I would just be very interested in knowing how did they actually dub it a suicide. So now he's apparently hiking on the Appalachian Trail. He's been spotted about 3 credible times, but like 8 different times. So there's a video. Oh, and by the way, if you're looking for him, he has some extremely obvious things about him. So his ears are like completely pointed and folded over, and he has like this point on his ears.
From wrestling, maybe?
Maybe. Both of
With the
them.
little
I think he
cauliflower?
just it's just a different shaped ear.
Okay.
But he's obviously bald and has a beard, so there's like millions of guys out there who have shirts that say like I'm not Brian Laundrie. So if you are looking for him and you think you see him, just look for a couple of these things. He also has a tattoo on his pinky and I think his wrist, but I know for a fact he has one on his pinky. And then, so hand tattoos. And then he walks literally, like when they were like, he has an out-turn walk. I was like, how are you going to notice that? He literally walks with his feet like this and walks like this. Like, it's creepy looking, but if you walk like that, it's like...
Very noticeable.
Very noticeable.
Yeah.
I'm pigeon-toed, so I walk like this. So no hate to anybody who walks different. Because
she's got a little waddle.
I got a waddle. I walk like this, so I can make fun of anybody who walks like this or like this. But yeah, so so there is a video of a couple walking on the Appalachian Trail, and they come by. Supposedly he's in a white F-150. I don't know how he got the F-150 or what, but they spot the F-150 on the same trail. It's a man just talking, shooting the breeze to this lady, telling her what she's doing. He has his hands in his pockets, so you can't see his tattoos, but he's literally standing with his feet like this, just talking to her. And then when he sees that they're recording, he backs up and sits down, and then sits on her tailgate. So that video is on the internet too if you want to see it. But it's a little freaky because that one does seem like it was him. So if he was on the Appalachian Trail, everybody thinks he was on the Appalachian Trail. So Chris Laundrie, his dad, actually came out, I think, Friday and started looking for him. It was Wednesday. It was on my birthday because I was like, ooh, they're going to actually find him on my birthday. No, he didn't join until the day after. I thought they were going to find him on my birthday because they had drones and dogs and they had all the things and they looked like they were infiltrating to find him in an area, and they did not. And then the next day, I think this is a conspiracy. I know I said I wasn't going to say them, but I think the FBI is just trying to get evidence right now, and they know that they don't have any good leads, so they got Chris to come out and pretend like he was searching.
Who's Chris?
Chris is his dad. Okay. Yeah, to come out and pretend like he was searching so that they could just get him to talk to somebody, but at the same time, maybe find out, is he actually here? See how engaged he actually is.
Right.
If your son is missing and he hasn't killed somebody, you would be outside looking.
Oh, frantic. I would be frantically looking.
You would be searching for your son. They are extremely just, crazy, I would say. We call them the dirty laundries just because they are so obviously not talking about this. If your son's missing as he's supposed to be, you need to be looking for your son.
Yeah.
So whether you're helping him get away with murder, or you're just helping him escape so he doesn't have to deal with his problems, or you're just
shame
not
on
looking
you.
for him.
Let your son deal with the consequences of potentially, since we don't know yet, killing his significant other.
Right.
There's only so much you can protect your child until you're like, this is the choice you made.
Yeah. And I know parents of murderers always have this hard time because they love their children. They're always going to love their child. But there is a time and a place when you realize, okay, my child has done something that they need to deal with. Mm-hmm. And whether you had something to do with it because you raised them to be murderers or you didn't, because there are a lot of people who just
make bad choices and just aren't okay.
Yeah. Or go off the deep end, and it's mental health and lots of things that have nothing to do with nature versus nurture, the way that you actually raise your child.
Yeah, and it would be hard as a parent to see your child go down that path or whatever, but they're a grown adult making these choices, and it shouldn't reflect who you are as a parent. It just happens sometimes. You could raise your child the best, in the best, most awesome house ever, and they still go and do that kind of stuff. Right.
But either way, if you knew that your child's girlfriend, they were together for a few years and were gonna get married, that's your future possible daughter-in-law, you should be wanting to find her when she's missing. You should be devastated when you find out she's dead, and you should be talking so that you don't look guilty or that you just know that whatever needs to happen to come out with the truth needs to happen.
And think if the situation was flipped and this happened to him, like, they would
Right.
be devastated if her family wasn't talking, I'm sure, and
Right.
they'd be like, why? What's up?
Right. So, over the weekend, new information has come out, which is, I got me shook. I'm like, what the heck, man? All right, so in the same week, and this is who they think killed the newlywed couple, in the same week that everybody was there and people were committing suicide. I don't know if Mercury was just in extreme retrograde or what was happening, but they, which I do not believe in, by the way, but they, I just when anything's going crazy, I'm like, it must be in retrograde again. I don't understand what that means. There was a mental patient who just happens to be bald with a beard as well,
Crazy.
who escaped the mental hospital. And
Wow.
they believe he is the person who shot. I don't know how he would have gotten a gun, but they believe he's a prime suspect in the newlywed couple.
Interesting.
So, which, if they're not related, I'm like, that is crazy that there are two murders on the loose in Moab at the same time doing murdery things.
Is the door downstairs locked? I'm getting scared.
No. But we can run out this door if you have your keys.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Okay, I'm right. I know, right? So,
Spooky.
no. Anyways, so that's what they've dubbed, they think, is the prime suspect in the newlyweds, but I believe Brian is still the most high person of interest in the Gabby Petito case. So, two different people. Lock your door, says Daisy. Okay, she's locked. Do you have your key to lock it? Okay. So it's hard being in a business area because we're supposed to keep our doors unlocked for like fire hazard, but we're also here sometimes and we're like, we don't want our doors unlocked. And business people will like come in and try to sell us stuff. So I'm like, get out of here. I'm trying to craft here. So we're safe unless there's a fire. I'm more afraid of fires than I am criminals. Okay, so yeah, we have the bling tool to use as a weapon, they said.
Oh my gosh, the jugular with this end.
Jugular.
You want to know what's crazy? I've been allowed to carry these on planes.
Right?
Just so you know.
Don't say it now.
I know, huh?
Yeah,
Sorry.
we should market those as like, keep them in your purse. You can bling and you can sting.
It's like a bling and sting tool. Hey.
It's a female weapon.
Kind of
So-
is, though.
Right? So I think that's all the information I have. I know a lot of more details that I probably skipped over, but like that's basically where the story's at, and he's still on the loose, and he could easily be in Mexico. He could be...
That's just scary for people around that area, too.
Yeah.
Like, there's this mania. It just, you never know who to trust or what's going on or who's out there or...
Right.
Whew.
I know. That's why if we bring light to it, we can definitely make sure we're on the lookout for these people. And I'm hoping like the more people start talking about true crime, it helps people realize like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get away with a crime anymore because there's so many people who are going to be into finding me and getting me back. And we want him back alive, more importantly, so we can get some answers.
Right.
But if he's dead, I don't know. It would give, I don't know.
If
It's
he's
always
dead,
a
it
hard
would,
one.
yeah, it would, I don't know. I would want more answers and like you said, like finding him alive and knowing like why, what happened, like
Right.
getting down to the bottom of it. If not, it's just going to be an extreme mystery.
Yeah, it's frustrating when that happens. So, all right, I'm going to read some comments.
Yeah, do it. I want to hear what the girls have to say.
Go back up to the top. This music.
I know.
You guys even hear it?
Can you hear the music is so good?
Oh,
And by the
yeah,
way, you did a really good job on your first crime
Thank
story.
you. I've only immersed myself so much in it that I was sure it was going to develop a little bit more over the weekend. I'll also tell you the people that I've been following to keep up with this story. No, I don't want to switch account. I want to find another YouTube channel. I know I was going to read comments, but what are your thoughts on the story first time hearing it?
I mean, this music. Hold on, I gotta turn it down. It's so distracting.
It's like Indiana Jones.
I know. I mean, my thoughts are like, what do you mean? Just overall,
Just
general?
like, yeah, I don't know. Just like,
I mean, it makes me Okay, so backstory on me, like I come from an abusive relationship that I was in for 3 years. And it just makes me sad seeing the red flags and hearing about just like the manipulation. And even though you're not being physically hurt, there's so much verbal abuse that goes on that we're just not even aware of, that we can feel embarrassed of, to when I'm hearing that she was in the car crying and can't calm down, and it makes me think she was probably really scared to say something, because she knows she's going to be traveling with him still. What if I put him in jail? Everything looks so perfect on social media, all that stuff just
right.
And I remember when I was in a relationship that was verbally abusive, it's embarrassing, and you feel like there's a cycle of all the abuse happens, and then they apologize, and you're in the honeymoon stage, and then it gets back to being bad again, and then they apologize. It's like this vicious cycle.
Yes.
And you think because they're not putting hands on you that it's okay, and it's not, because I wasn't taught that kind of stuff either, what to look for, like you said, gaslighting and manipulation. And so it's hearing this, it's makes me think of me and my situation, and it makes me happy that my family was so involved. And I remember my mom was my stepmom was I could see what was happening, even though you couldn't. And that's why she started coming over a lot more to my house and all this kind of stuff. And then eventually I was like, okay, well, my parents are there. I can leave. I have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
But not everyone does. It's they were together, locked up in this van, and there was no escape, or you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's, I don't know. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, and that makes me wonder how often it's an
sorry.
I
don't pay for
we'll
Pandora.
Just turn it off. But it just makes me wonder how many signs were actually there, because after we watched the police cam, when this was fresh, I asked Dustin, he was like, did you hear about this case? And I was like, yeah, he totally killed her. And he was like, well, have you seen the police cam footage? Because after you watch that, I'd like to be interested in what you think. And I watched it, and the first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, he does seem he's got it all together, and she's kind of, but after she showed up dead, that's when I watched it again from the other police officer, and I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not see all those manipulation red flags? And it just makes me wonder how often he was doing that, and her parents just didn't understand what manipulation looked like.
Right.
And they don't. So I've been listening to psychologists on this matter, and just they're hoping that out of this the law enforcement can start to understand psychologically what to look for in abusive relationships, whether it's both ways.
Well, and it's scary. It's a lot of behind the scenes too. I remember stuff if you say anything, just crazy, mean, threatening, scary stuff, and so you're afraid to say something. And then a lot of you is embarrassed, right. Do you feel embarrassed that you're in the relationship with this person because you're not going to leave them? So it's why would I tell anybody? And so you're dealing with it yourself, and that's not healthy either.
Right.
So,
it's
and the
so
signs
sad.
too, I love getting ready and dressed up. When I was in an abusive relationship, I never got ready. I always had my hair in a bun. I didn't really care what I looked like.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect too, seeing someone's whole personality just change, or the way they take care of themselves.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It really is.
There's so many things you can look for. And even the opposite. I helped one of my best friends get out of an extremely abusive relationship. And he would force her to wear high heels all the time. And she had to wear skirts. And, even after having her first baby, we went to the park for the first time. And she, walked up dressed to the nines in high heels and a skirt, and I was like, what are you doing? You're a mom now. We don't dress like that anymore when we're at the park. We can try, but it's not going to be fun when you're trying to carry around a baby and a walker, all the things. And but yeah, as I got to get closer and closer to her and really got into their relationship, because behind closed doors I would have had no idea what was going on, but just staying close to her and letting her know it's okay to talk about this stuff, I'm not going to judge you or your husband, but at the same time being a sound voice to let her know you don't have to wear 6-inch stilettos all the time, every day. And he was actually working graveyards, and he made his family mimic his schedule and wake up at 2 a.m. every day with him when he got off of work, and they would stay up, and they were like babies. And I was like, that's not okay. Like, what are you gonna do when they have to go to school? Like,
Right.
how are you gonna, and so, like, just all these, and then it became physically abusive, and a lot of things just started stemming out of it, but it was just like, okay, sometimes people, like, and not that all girls who dress to the nines are, like, being abused, but, like,
Right.
it's just crazy how manipulation can go so many ways. I know some men want to control their girls to make them look ugly, so no guys will talk to them. And then the other way, like, I want you to be a trophy on my arm, and you need to look this way all the time. Like,
the sleep thing and having them mimic his schedule is kind of interesting, because I felt like an abusive part of my relationship was I was always deprived of sleep. I would get, like, I wouldn't be allowed to, like, sleep in. He would always wake me up. I was so exhausted. So I remember finally leaving the relationship when I got to my parents. I could just sleep.
Oh my gosh.
And just be. And it was like, man, I didn't know that was happening until I, like, left. And I was like, I was never really truly allowed to, like, just sleep in. And then he'd be out, like, late in the night, like, walking around our apartments, drinking beer, socializing and stuff. And so I would be up late, and then he would wake me up early. But it's like I worked and went to school and was taking care of the baby. And it's like I probably slept like 4 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, I feel like that's abusive too. Like not getting the correct rest that you need. And
it controlling anybody's natural rights.
Yeah.
Like, to sleep and eat and dress the way you want and be comfortable. Like,
just being a human being.
Yeah, taking away your right to be who you were created to be.
Yes.
I feel like, and I know, like, and she wasn't being a vlogger or whatever is not necessarily like a human right. Not everybody has that human right, but it's an aspiration and a dream of hers, and to undermine it and give it like less credibility, that was one of her biggest frustrating things. She was like, I just keep trying to work on my blog, and I was really tired because I was trying to work on it, and I was editing all day, and then he was just making comments about how he's not supportive of it, and she's like, and that frustrated me, and it's like, it's so frustrating to see people not build into each other's dreams, even if you don't understand them, even if you don't see how it's going to work. Let them do it. If they fail, that was them. It's not has nothing to do with you. Like,
and it's not hurting your partner to work on your dreams and everything. If she's still bringing in an income, if it makes her happy, like all these things, it's like, that's what relationship and love is all about, is supporting each other. And, and
he was just kind of mooching off her. She was doing all the work. And then, he did also use her credit cards after she was dead. So there was that too.
It's crazy to me.
I know.
I want to hear some comments really quick.
But she didn't kill him and leave him off there for the animals to eat. I do think that most places, defensive actions can appear offensive or be interpreted that way. Interesting. Moab police says, it's Moab law enforcement. How are you? You have the right to remain silent. Thank you. We do, but we're not staying silent. Isn't that crazy? We have the right to remain silent, but we also have freedom of speech, and I feel like use it. Yeah, it's going to get ourselves in trouble sometimes, but
sometimes it might save your life.
Yeah, the more that's out on the table, like, I'm just honest to a fault. Like, that's why it's so hard for me to watch some of this true crime and, like, even hear some people's, like, pathologically lying tactics and everything. Like, I just can't understand how somebody just doesn't want to get to the bottom of things and just tell the truth.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't got time for this. Like, let's figure it out as fast as possible. Yeah, I screwed up. I'm going to help you figure this out. It's like the parents are like, yeah, we did a bad job of making sure that our son wasn't a killer, so let's help you.
Right. It's just hard.
Donna says, I lived in a woman's home for 8 weeks with my kids. Mental, physical, and verbal abuse makes you feel like you are not worth anything anymore.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because, I mean, both being verbally and physically abused is hard, but the verbal abuse, I will never forget. I'll never forget some of the things he said to me still to this day, and it's been years since we've been together. And I remember like 3 or 4 specific incidences and things, and I will just never.
Yeah, and they just ingrain themselves into you.
It's sick.
Yeah.
It really is. It's so hard. But there are so many places like that you can go and get help and just don't ever feel like you can't get out. There's public assistance. There's homes and shelters and family and friends and just, you know.
And if you don't have those things, because one of the biggest things about controlling and manipulation is pulling you away from your family and friends. If you're in a relationship that is pulling you away from the people that you really want to hang out with and that love you, like, unconditionally, those are huge red flags. Whether it's just like, we're not going to your family's anything ever again, like, we're going to my family's, or you're gonna only be integrated into my family's stuff. Like, you should always be free to do the things with the people that you want to do things
with. That I was kept from my family. Like, me and Larissa didn't hang out for almost a year, and it's like, you know how close me and Larissa are, so that was like crazy.
And the hard part is, like, sometimes people think, you know, because there are times when you do need to be separated from people who are like bad influences on you, or if your family is a bad influence, you know, like, spouses might be like, you know what, you're an addict and your families are all addict. Like, we need to not be with all the addicts until you're healthy enough to, you know, there's definitely times to be separated from family and other friends, but when they're people who love you and want the best for you and they're healthy people, like, nobody should be separating you.
And guess what? People. Even though you're separated from your family, if you were telling them what was going on, I guarantee even if you haven't talked to them in years, they would be like, all right, let's get you help. Let's, you know.
And if there's not, I mean, if you don't have family
Churches
or friends,
help.
Go to a church.
Yes.
Go to any church that you can find. Go to, church. Just go to church.
Yeah.
They're set up to be able to help you. If they don't have a program, they'll know a church that does have a program. Like,
they'll know, like, the resources to point you into, or, like, just anyone you feel safe with talking to.
Yeah. Yep. Not all families are created equal. No, they are not.
It's so true. You're right. And that's one thing I always thank God for, is I have a super supportive family, but you're right, not everyone does. So that's something I've always been truly, truly, truly thankful for.
Right.
My family's always had, like, an open door policy. Like, no matter what you're doing in life or whatever, like, our door is always open. And I truly, truly, truly appreciate that.
Right. Carrie says, it's not the more that's out on the table, it's the more facts that are out on the table, not speculation. There's a difference. Too many people talk about things they aren't knowledgeable about, but the problem of talking in situations like that, because words can be twisted and turn your words to fit their narrative. So true. We're seeing that with his sister. His sister finally came out and talked, and I was really frustrated when I saw that she talked, because instantly people started picking her apart and twisting her words. And I personally think out of their whole family, she is actually telling the truth. I might be wrong. She might be really good at lying, but until something is proven there, I'm not going to fall on either side. But I think she's telling the truth.
So she's the only one in his family that has came forward and talked about anything.
Yes, because protesters are literally, like, standing at her door, and apparently her kids found out that Gabby died, which she calls Gabby their aunt. Aww. So she finally came out and said, look, I was hoping to tell my kids that she died. Like, maybe they weren't talking about it at the camping trip because they didn't want the kids to know.
Right.
Like, there's lots of reasons why things could be going on. It's just more of, like, can we get a little bit of your guys' heart to hear it so we can lay off of you? Because there are so many people just, like, harping down their throats. Like, you guys need to talk. It's not fair. But if they were to just maybe give a little bit. So she did come out and she said, you know, I have not seen my brother since the camping trip. I don't know where he is. I don't know anything. The FBI told me not to talk about things, but I'm willing to talk about some things. And then they started, like, digging into the case, and she's like, I cannot talk about that stuff. And she lives, like, a few hours away from their house. So whether she's an accomplice and she's doing this to just kind of, like, a lot of people think she's a liar. A lot of people are like, she's lying. I try to put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, if this was my brother and he was on the run and my parents weren't talking, she's even expressed her frustration with her parents. Like, she's like, I wish my parents would talk, but they're not even talking to me. So I think that she is just, like, at a loss, and her husband has talked too. Like, they both are just like, we don't know. We're trying to know. They seem like they are genuine. And where she got twisted is where she called it out. She was like, they twisted my words and said I didn't know where he was or something. And but what she was saying was, I don't know anything. Like, I only know what you guys know because I'm getting all my information from the media, just like you guys.
Yeah, that's hard too. And then, like, the kids too, who are having to, like, deal with and having media outside their house. Like, I couldn't imagine. I would be terrified and not know what to do. And, like, all, you know, it's like
Yeah.
what anxiety she feels, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Right. I think you guys are talking about the idea if abuse is okay if a man is abusing a woman versus a woman abusing a man. I'm just saying like little bits and pieces, but they're but in my family, I'll just speak out personally. It's never okay to put your hands on anybody, whether it's a friend, an enemy, anything. You just, unless your life is on the line or somebody is attacking you, you don't ever instigate anything, and you don't put your hands on anyone, especially the people you love. Like, there should be no reason for you to ever physically touch anybody, whether it's, you know, unless it's your spouse and you guys are intimately touching each other. Like, there's, and, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just such a hard thing. And even like if my kids are not comfortable hugging people, I'm like, you don't have to hug them if you don't feel comfortable with that. Like, your body, your choice, figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Oh, that's so true. And I heard one time, I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was like a therapist or a school counselor or something. But when you're in conflict, he said something like your natural instinct should be to like step back, where a lot of people step forward and then engage in some kind of physical altercation, when really you should just step back and walk away. But that's so hard too, because we're such prideful people that we want to like finish it or prove ourselves or do something, and it's like that just leads into so much more trouble if you were just like, you know what, I just need to go. I need to walk away.
Right.
But it's so hard when you're in the situation too, and like,
yeah. Preschool rule, keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, your hands should not be used for anybody else like they're yours. Use them to work on things for yourself. So, it's better to be humble and walk away. Yeah, it's actually harder to walk away.
Way harder.
Yeah, it's such a learned behavior that you have to exercise. Like, you can't, there are so many moments when you just want to have the last word, and that goes for all relationships.
And that is straight up pride. That's pridefulness.
That is pridefulness. And it's really not going to help the situation.
No.
And there are so many times when I feel like we just want to stay in the argument because we want to fight till the end, you know? And it's like, no, we really need to both. It was one of the things Dustin and I always try to go back to. Is like, we're on the same team. We are on the same team. Like, if you're on the same team, you should not be fighting with each other. You should be, you know, working together to fight whatever the issue is, not fighting each other.
I love
that. So there are many moments we have to stop and go, are you on my team today? Like, we are not on the same team right now. We need to take a break and come back and realize, like, we are on a team.
I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah. No offense, but in situations like that, it's better not to talk. People will attack them because they're the only ones talking. Yeah, it can go so many ways. And I could understand, like, not wanting to talk either, just because they are going to twist your words. It's going to be extremely frustrating. Like, it's just, yeah,
it's hard. Like, like, what do you do in the situation? Talk, be silent.
I don't even know. I feel for all of them, but I don't feel necessarily for the Laundrie family. I feel like they do need to say something, but.
I know, but like they said, what if they're being advised not to, because it will help them find it, but they're looking, or help them find her, but they're looking like the bad people.
Yeah.
So it's like,
right.
It's so hard until we really like solve the case and figure out what truly happened.
I know.
Because like you said, they could come out and be like, we weren't supposed to talk because,
right,
you know,
like, that's what I'm waiting for. It's just like this huge ball to drop and them to be like, you don't even know the whole story. Because there's so many times in life when you find out the whole story, you're like, I never would have even guessed that. You know, so that's what I'm trying to think, the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, she died and somebody did it, and it was most likely Brian Laundrie.
And how long has this been going on?
Since mid-August.
Wow.
Yeah, I think August. I don't want to say the dates because I always get them wrong, but
it's been a while.
Yeah, she was missing for a couple weeks, and now he's been missing for, I think, 3 weeks. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yes, hindsight is 2020. All right, that wraps up my first True Crime Monday.
That was fun.
I don't know if I'm going to do it every Monday, but probably for the rest of October, because it's kind of fitting for October.
Spooky season.
Spooky season. But Tiff is making headway on the Cricut.
You guys, it looks so beautiful. Like, I can't look it. So this is what I got done while we were talking. It doesn't even look like a lot, but I
know.
swear. Look at that color, you guys.
It's so pretty.
You want to tell them, for anyone who's not following, why we're blinging this for Cricut?
We are going to be doing a fundraiser November 1st through the 7th. And on Orphan Sunday, we're going to be giving this bad boy away to one of you guys. We are raising money for orphans in Africa with Christ Hope International. I'll go into more details on what they are and what they do. For anyone who's followed me for the last few years, collaboratively, we've raised $18,000 for them.
Wow.
So this year, we are going to try to raise another $15,000 for them.
We got this.
Yeah. I have told my whole Africa story. I told it last year during the 12 DIYs of giveaways. It's kind of long. I'm hoping to highlight some of the more fun things this year and just talk about specifically the orphans part of it, because we're focusing on Orphan Sunday this year. Which is a very sad thing, but it's also a really awesome thing that Christ Hope International comes alongside the kids and allows them to have people to help them be successful in life. But yeah, we are giving away a bunch of other things, but we're giving away this guy when he's done.
It's going to be gorgeous, you guys.
Yeah.
I can't wait. This is a labor of love.
It's such a... You're so awesome for doing this. So it's...
Well, you're awesome too. So she bought the Cricut, and I'm putting my time in to bling it. So
it's amazing.
It's a joint.
Yes. So any way you guys can support would be awesome. To share the videos that we do that week, to donate in that time frame. But there's going to be lots of really cool ways that we're going to be doing entries for it and different things. But sharing it on Instagram would be helpful. We really want to just raise awareness this year for Christ Hope. And actually, a lot of you guys have stayed connected with them and have gotten on their email list and have been praying for all their prayer needs. And that's so cool and encouraging to hear, because if you guys have a church that wants to partner with an organization in Africa, they're always looking for more churches to partner with and send teams over there. We have a team over there that's probably coming back in the next couple days.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, they went for a couple other different things, but they also will probably check in on all the kids from Christ Hope too.
I love that.
Yeah, I cannot wait to go back.
I've always, Africa's always been on my bucket list to just go. And my aunt actually went to Africa, and she said it was the coolest experience of her life. That the kids have the most beautiful teeth because they don't eat candy and they brush with the ashes of the fire. Yeah. And she's just it's just such a beautiful culture and place, and the animals and the.
You know what's really sad is Coca-Cola has actually infiltrated, and they drink more soda than they do water now.
Really?
And yeah, it's really frustrating to go there. And that was something I noticed too, because there was a 7-year time span, and the first time I went, their teeth were beautiful. The second time, it's the first time I saw tooth decay.
Really?
All over the place. And I'm like, our American stupid ways.
Which is crazy because Coca-Cola does smart water and stuff, so they could really send over smart waters and all that.
They could.
Yeah.
But when you're over there and a Coke is cheaper than a water.
Yeah,
and they don't have any money.
Yeah.
They were giving, there were times in the hospitals when we had to give patients Coca-Cola.
And it's so bad for you. They use it to clean up crime scenes, blood off of the freaking cement, and then you're drinking that.
It's so sickening just to watch people make money off of that culture, because it's they are already malnourished and dying from everything because they can't fight anything off. Let's just put Coca-Cola in. But yes, it's life-changing. They're beautiful. They have the most amazing faith and spirit. It's just the most energetic. You would love it. I'm gonna take you one day.
Yes.
As soon as all this COVID
stuff
is over.
Don't tease me.
Oh, I won't. I
really want to go.
We need to get over there and actually get some footage for these lovely folks who help me raise money every year.
Which I love that you do that, because it just goes to show your heart.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, my heart is changed because of Africa.
That's cool.
It's not you can't not go and come back with a changed heart.
Right.
Yeah.
It just makes you so grateful for all the little basics that you have.
So grateful. And yes, we have a lot of stuff over here.
Even just the basics: a house, electricity,
everything,
water, everything, a pillow.
Everything.
Yeah.
You literally come back and you're just I can't complain. They don't complain about anything.
Mm.
That is the number one thing I've seen with every team member I've brought is like, they're not complaining. Like you reminded me of that when you were walking around Disney with blisters all over your feet, not complaining. Like I was like that. I haven't seen that spirit since I've been in Africa. Like
Aww.
People sleeping in what we would think is the worst conditions you could sleep in, and literally just being like, "Hi, how are you?" You know, like,
Aww.
"What can I get for you?" Like hospitality. And
I feel like I would be a mess over there, just crying 24/7. Like, you know what I mean?
Probably would, but their spirit like changes it. Like
Aww.
they have their eyes on heaven. Like literally have their eyes on heaven because they're just like, yeah, this is our world. It sucks. We're not here for this. We're here for that, you know? And
Yeah.
we're like, man, we are so consumed here with making ourselves comfortable that we forget like this is not our home. This is not where we're gonna be forever. We need to like be heaven focused, and they are, and they don't think about it. I'm like,
that's a good lesson for today. Be heaven focused.
be heaven focused.
I love that. That's really sweet.
All right, we love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging.